the problem with all these discussions is that everyone assumes that, well, the question is, did Samsung copy Apple or did they not copy Apple? As if there's something wrong with Samsung copying Apple in the first place. So this, to my mind, from a free market property rights perspective, is the fundamental problem with this whole debate. That everyone assumes that there's something wrong with copying someone else. But the problem with that is, that's what the market is people copying people that are successful and competing with them. Competition is not possible without copying, and there is nothing wrong with copying. Copying just means viewing what people do, learning from it, and learning how to do something better yourself. That's why the profit margin of the originator gets smaller over time, because they're not the only one who can do it. People start learning from what they do, and they start making the same kind of products that the first person does. And over time, their profit gets eroded. So yes, in today's world, there are sometimes some ways that you can, what we call, engineer around an existing patent, if you're aware of that patent and you know that it covers an existing product that you want to copy or compete with. You can design around it, we call it. So you can hire lawyers for $50,000 at a time to study this patent in depth, 1 out of 1 million or 10 million patents, which might not be the only one that's relevant, and they can get advice from the patent lawyer to the engineers about, you should tweak this feature of your new vacuum cleaner, even though you think that this feature is the way that makes it work best. You've got to change it now to get around someone's patent, which you didn't copy, you weren't even aware of. However, you're still stepping on their toes because your product is too similar to theirs. So you have to artificially change it to get around it. Sometimes you can do that. And when you can do that, it's almost always a waste, because you're changing the design not according to engineering mandates or efficiency mandates, but just to avoid being sued by someone for being too similar. Now, it is true that quite often you want to be different than your competitor because you want to have a differentiable product. You want to say, we're better than we have this feature, or we're different, we look different. You don't want to be the same. But sometimes you want to be the same. You want to say, hey, I'm very similar to that iPhone, but I'm cheaper, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. This is the market process. So the fundamental premise of this entire debate about patents, I've read all these articles about this thing, and you'll hear people saying, well, like in the Korean verdict, they'll say they shared the blame equally. This is what one reporter says. They shared the blame equally. Like Apple and Samsung both did something blameworthy by emulating each other, and they weren't even emulating each other. I mean, they probably were independently inventing most of their features based upon consumer, demand for their products in the smartphone and tablet area. And you'll often hear people say, well, did Samsung steal Apple's design or did they not? Well, the word stealing is not appropriate, because stealing means when you take someone from something and they don't have it anymore. That's why we oppose it as human beings. Like if I take your bicycle from you, the reason you don't like that I do that to you is because now you cannot ride your bicycle to the store or whatever. You don't have it. But if I could look at your bicycle and blink my eyes like, Genie, I dream of Genie, and just blink and conjure an identical bicycle at my house, it wouldn't be stealing from you. It would be copying your bicycle. Or it would be making a bicycle that looks like yours, which is not stealing. You might call it some other kind of tort, but it's not stealing. So people are not objective in their description of what's going on here. They load the dice by saying Samsung has been found to have stolen Apple's designs. What they're saying is Samsung competed with Apple, similar device.